Jaymes Willoughby here, where every week we look at what's happening in the Austin market. We're at the end of week 4 of July of 2024, and let's dive in and find out what's happening in Austin real estate. Right now, we're at once again, a 14-year high in terms of listings. We're down, inventory-wise, down slightly from last week. We're hovering around 12,400 listings, and our inventory that came on the market this last week is down from what we have seen in the last several weeks. So that's new inventory hitting the market last week, 783, as opposed to some of the highs that we saw earlier this year, which were in the 1,300 per week range. So in fact, if we look at the graph here, the red graph here indicates what has been listed each week, and you can see how that red graph is higher than the blue graph right below it, which is the number of pending sales, what went under contract in the corresponding week. This is the first week that we've seen where the number of new pendings are actually slightly higher than the number of new listings. So that's what's causing the inventory to plateau, not grow any further, which is good news in terms of inventory. Now, if the activity rate was as high as it was earlier this year, almost 1,000 listings going pending each week, that'd be a different story. But now we're at just 783, so just under the 800 mark in terms of pending sales last week. Seasonally, that's about where we should be. It's just we have a lot more inventory this year than we did last year. So what that does is that translates into how much inventory do we have? How long would it take for us to sell everything that's on the market right now if nothing new came on the market? Based on last week's activity, we're at 15.83 weeks of inventory. It's down from the peak of July the 1st, which was the holiday, or the first week of July rather, which was the holiday week, which we expected that to jump. But as you can see on the graph here, that it's quite a bit higher than it was week 4 of last year. We only had 11.5 weeks of inventory. So we definitely have more inventory now. It's being absorbed more slowly than it was this time last year. And as far as interest rates are concerned, rates actually stayed about even with last week. In fact, overall good news. There was little movement, but we're at a low, like a 3-month low, I guess, from when we were as high as 7.25 or 7.25 interest rate. Now we're hovering around 7 3/4. So that's good. We're about a half a point down, which is spurring some activity that we didn't see before. But typically when rates go lower, buyers continue to pause because they're expecting the rates to maybe go even lower. So that's stalling potentially some of the buyers waiting for rates to drop further. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there, unfortunately. We did see, if we go back and kind of look at the health of what's going on in the marketplace, we saw quite a few number of price reductions in July. In fact, when we look at that graph, you can see that last week alone, we had 1,645 homes that the price was reduced. Not quite the peak of what we saw maybe, the beginning of the month where we had 1,800, but that's a significant number because that's, 15% or more of the market is repricing itself every week kind of consistently. So what we're seeing is that some of the sellers are feeling the pain. They're a little distressed. They're improving their prices, and those are the ones that are typically selling. So if you don't price it right on the front end, at some point you need to improve your price and get it to where it needs to be to get an offer on your property. Number of failed listings, we've actually seen kind of a higher number. A failed listing is a listing that was withdrawn from the market either because the seller just quit or the listing expired, and these sellers may or may not relist. But we talk about this usually at the end of the month, and we're not quite there yet. So I think next week you're going to see another spike like we had last month, where we saw like 500 homes come off in 1 week. Well, 300 came off last week, and we expect this to be a spike very similar to this red graph where we see at the end of each month a big number of homes actually come off the market. So be interested to see what the number is with fewer listings going on the market and with more listings going off the market, what that does to our absorption rate. But we'll know next week what really happened. So we'll go over that next week. And until that time, you have a good week. If you have questions or concerns, please let us know. We are always here to help. If you're an existing seller with our team, if you haven't addressed pricing lately, maybe a good time to have a strategy session with your listing agent. Find out where you need to be to get your home under contract before the end of the summer. Until next week, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.